Hello everyone, and here we are back again today with a Buster Blader going into the Diamond rank to see how well a deck like this can keep up. This was one of the initial sort of videos from the channel and seems to be one of the more popular ones, and as I said in the last video, I have been working on it a good little bit, trying to make sure we're optimizing it as much as we possibly can. This is the version I've been running in the Diamond rank. It's winning a decent chunk of its games, to be honest. It's performing very well. It does sort of struggle against some of the more powerful decks like Sword Souls if you happen to go second. Going second was already a weakness, but if you're going first, it's virtually an auto win. Going second, this specific version of the deck, the Tenyi version of the deck, holds a lot more breaking power and offensive power, and it adds a lot more to your ability to play through interruptions specifically. So that's why I think this is one of the best ways to play Buster Blader at the minute, full stop. There may be a couple of other ways, but this avoids gimmicks, avoids games. This is here to win. You're going to get into damage using this, you can get through damage using this. Diamond 1 may be a bit of a push, but you can certainly try your best. In terms of an in-depth breakdown, that's going to be coming at the end of the video. We're going to go through a few games here with the decks, going over its strengths and weaknesses, some wins, some losses. You're going to see both ends of this deck here. We're not, cherry picking wins. We want to give a competitive review of the deck. So let's get on then with the games. If you do happen to see anything you do enjoy and you want to see any more, you can always subscribe. It's completely free. So let's then get in the game number 1. Okay, game number 1. So what we're going to be doing here is looking at the hand. We're going to open up with Fusion Destiny. We wanted to see if he sort of had anything. With the trap cards already in hand, the Prologue and the Destruction Sword, we didn't really care too much if this resolved or not. If it did, great, we already had all of our setup. If it didn't, this is what we could do instead. We're going to special summon out the Vishuda because we control nothing, normal summon the Ash, go in the Hacky 5 rack so we can summon out the Whelp, use these guys to go into Predaplant, Verte Anaconda, and then Verte Anaconda is going to send the Fusion Destiny to summon out the DPE, and then we set to and pass. That little combo there, and that's one of the most sort of bread and butter ways of setting this play up. I feel like that's a super powerful play you can consistently go into with this version of the deck. You can use your Tenyis, use your Sage, your Buster, Whelp, or if you need to, you can also use your hand traps to go into Hacky 5 racks. It will summon the dragon, the Whelp out to the field. That gives you a dragon to banish off of memories in the graveyard. That means that basically that one combo piece, because Prologue, if you read the card, it sends 2 Buster Blader cards from deck to graveyard, the Buster Blader and then one of your choice. You're missing the third piece. You need at least one other piece to make the combo work, and that's a dragon monster in your graveyard. So this combo puts that dragon in the grave. It means you can more consistently resolve your Destruction Swordsman Prologue every time you draw it. That is a huge benefit of that. So you summon out the Whelp, and then you use Hacky 5 racks on the Whelp, go in the Verte Anaconda, and then you get DPE on top of completing this combo piece. So because we have all of this, we can now send the Buster Destruction Sword off of the Prologue instead of needing to send a Whelp for the Fusion. It just extends the combo so much. So we're playing against not Salamagrates, our Tri-Brigades here. He summons out Salamagrade Almirage. Before he can do anything else, we're going to pop the Almirage just to reduce the amount of materials, and it puts our memories in the graveyard. We really want that in the grave. So he's going to go Nerval. We're just going to flip up our Prologue. We're going to get our board out preemptively. Now that memories is in the grave, we can get this ball rolling. We send our Buster, the Dragon Buster Destruction Sword and the Buster Blader to grave. We banish the Whelp and the Buster Blader with the memories. We summon out the Destruction Swordsman. Then we summon out the Buster Dragon. Then his Nerval resolves, but no, who cares about that? We activate the Buster Dragon's effect. It's going to equip onto our Buster Blader, our Dragon Buster Destruction Sword. I always forget its name. And it's as easy as that. So no extra deck, no monster effects, free pop every turn. Fantastic. Like, what more can you want? Like, this is optimal Buster Bladers at its best. So that was not like a bad deck we were against. That's again top tier Tri-Brigades going into their plays. We just completely lock them out. So again, no need to linger on that. Really good game going first, and that's how the deck works when it's playing optimally. So that's using the Tenyi engine to extend into your pieces, getting the DPE, and really setting up your board. So that's great number 1. Then let's get into game number 2, sort of somewhat similar but more pure in terms of its hand, more pure Buster Blader. So let's get into that then. Okay, game number 2, and we're going second this time, which isn't great. Like I said, this is one of the weaknesses of the deck. We're going up against Endymion. Now, Endymion recently won a big-time dual meta tournament, so Endymion is going to be popular over the next few while, and it is no joke. It's a really strong deck. So he's going to summon out his Mythical King, and he uses Secret Village of the Spellcasters here. Now, we're going to use Effect Veiler at the end of our turn here, just to take away his spell counters. Basically, what this guy does is he can negate a monster effect by detaching 2 spell counters from the field. So by Veilering him at the end of their main phase, he only has 1 spell counter left on his board. We're not planning on using any spell cards, so we're not going to be boosting him up. So we've effectively neutered that negate. But so long as he controls a spellcaster, we can't activate any spell cards. So this is quite a good lock as well. So we're going to normal summon our Buster Whelp. It's going to add our the extra deck lock. We go into our Linkuriboh, we just set 3 and pass. We don't care about the spell lock, we don't care about your monster negates, we're just going to set 3. We flip up in the draw phase our Prologue and our Memories. Memories will pitch the Destruction Sword there. That's why we searched for that card, so we can pitch it off of Memories. Summon out the Buster Blader. Prologue will summon another Buster Dragon to field. We banish the Memories from the graveyard, plus the Whelp and the Buster Blader, summon out our Dragon Destroyer Swordsman, and this is a really cool interaction. So all of his monsters are now dragons. Because he no longer controls a spellcaster, he can't activate any spell cards. He's playing Endymion, he can't play the game if he can't play spell cards. We were also going to equip on an extra deck lock there as well, but no, he can't play the game, so he scoops it up there too. So there you go. Even with a sort of decent setup like that, what that points out is a lot of decks you go against may have control, may have negates, but not a lot of decks negate trap cards, because not a lot of decks play trap cards. There's this, Eldritch. I can't remember the last time I saw a trap trick player. That's pretty much it. The only 2 that are doing well would be this deck and Eldritch. Well, I mean, I say doing well. Buster Blader's not exactly top tier, but it is more than capable of winning games in Diamond here. So yeah, again, very quick, very decisive, completely locked out of their game, even enhanced even further by their own cards. So let's get into duel number 3 here, which maybe wasn't so smooth. Alright, duel number 3 here, and we're going second. Now, I'm sure you could have figured that one out from the last thing. He's going to open up Ecclesia. Now, he's playing a 60 card deck, and he still manages to open Ecclesia, so that's, you know, fair and balanced. That's grand. So he's going to reveal the Murmur to summon out his token. He's going to go into the Sword Soul Grandmaster. He's going to draw 1, then search 1. We don't have any interruption on our hand, so that's not exactly great. I think we play either 6 or 8 hand traps. I can't remember. I think it's 6, but we have nothing. So that's fine. He's going to discard the Murmur to go into the Strategist, and the token will summon out Baron de Fleur. Then we take 1200 points of damage, and he sets 1 and passes. Okay. So this hand here is going to be a very good display of the consistency sort of power that the Tenyi bring. So he's going to use Maxi. That's going to be a problem, of course. We don't have Ash in hand to negate it, unfortunately. So we're just going to have to deal with that. We'll summon the Vegeta. If we don't take the Maxi challenge, we're going to lose anyway. We might as well put all our chips on red. We're going to summon out our Monk of Tenyi. We're going to banish the Vegeta to force him to use the effect of his Baron de Fleur. So that's fine. We force the negate out of the Baron de Fleur. We special summon then the Ashuna out to the field. Then we'll normal summon Sage. Sage goes to search, but he gets negated. That's honestly fine. We didn't care too much about that. It would have put a dragon in our hand for us, but it wouldn't really have done very much. So we're going to use then the Sage and the Monk to go into Haki Fibrax. Needle Fiber here is going to try and search for a tuner, but we get negated again. So we're up to what? 1, 2, 3 negates so far. We still have some room to combo off, though. We're not completely out of the game yet. We're going to link summon yet again into Predaplant, Verte, Anaconda. We go to use its effect, but we get Imperm. This person had 4 it took 4 negates to shut us down. Unfortunately, we do get shut down. That's just the way it is, unfortunately. He recycles back the Baron de Fleur. He summons out Mo Yi. Mo Yi grabs a token. So we're going to be seeing this play. He uses Heavenly Circle to grab an Adhara. Adhara and the Mo Yi go into Denglong. This is a very interesting version of Sword Souls he's playing. I'll give him that. Like the 60 card version is very interesting. I looked at the deck list. It's not too far out of the ordinary in terms of the cards you would expect. So he's going to grab his Yang Zing Trap. He goes for Vessel of the Dragon Cycle. He sends a... So he's actually playing the Yang Xing cards, so he is, which is interesting. He summons out, he's just doing so much summoning. The Xiao Fang locks us out of I believe, fire and light. Drag out negates spells and traps, but it doesn't matter. He has more than enough damage on board to get lethal across here, but that's fine. Unfortunate, but you know what? You can't win them all. That was going second against Sword Souls. The big reason I wanted to show that, and I know we lost that, and I know, you know, it is what it is. The reason I showed that is because it was an excellent example of how the Tenyi engine allows this deck to push through that level of interruption. Like, we had to get negated 4 times. 4 times, and that's with a max C active, so that's 5 interactions on our turn. We played through 5 interactions. We didn't play through, sorry. It took 5 to beat us. So that just goes to show, like, not every deck is going to have 5 negates. That's just not going to happen. They're not going to have 5 interactions. So if this version of this deck is able to set up your plays going through at least 4 interruptions, we could have played through 4 interactions. The 5th one got us with the Imperm, but we could have played through 4. Not a lot of Buster Blader decks can play through 4 interactions. That just doesn't happen. Most of them fold at 1. So this still is a big, I know we lost, but this still is a big reason as to why the Tenyi engine is so important in my opinion, or another engine that can extend in a similar fashion. I just am more comfortable with the Tenyis because I played with them an awful lot. So that's a good showing of that. We did lose, but you know, you can't win them all. It is a rogue deck. You can't pick up a rogue deck and expect to win every single game. It's simply not going to happen. But again, still a strong show for the deck. So we'll get in then to our last game, which goes a little bit better for us. Alright, getting into the last game, we are once again going second. He sets 1 and passes though, so again, these are the types of things. I looked at this and I thought, yo, 3 win, let's get this here. I actually wasn't even going to include this in the video, because I thought, you know, it'd be too straightforward. He does try to hit us with a max C here, but we're just going to ash that. As you can see, we're playing the Fire and the Wind Tenyi. The reason we're playing these is not only can they be special summoned using their effects, you can also just normal summon them. That was the big reason. Sometimes we were drawing into too many of the same Tenyi and we couldn't make plays with them because they couldn't be normal summoned as level 7s. So we decided to cut down on the level 7s, put in a couple level 4s to make it a little bit more consistent. We go into Haki Fibrax here, we get negated, which is annoying because it means we don't have a Dragon Engrave for our Buster Blader plays, but we didn't have Prologue anyway. As soon as you see that you don't have Prologue in hand, forget about Buster Blader. It's not happening. You need to acknowledge that. So we're going to go into Vertanaconda, we're summoning out DPE, which is the second biggest win condition in the deck. Easy, a huge buff for this deck. We're actually going against the brand new Exo Sister deck, so I had no idea what to expect from this whatsoever. He summons out 2 Exo Sisters. That trap seems pretty damn strong. We pop the Vertanaconda, pop one of the sisters, we swing into the other one. So the way the sisters work is, again, from reading them, I don't know the deck in depth, so this is definitely not a profile. But they all seem to be able to, whenever a card is moved from the graveyard, be it banished, resurrected, which is essentially everything the DPE does, so to counter the DPE. Whenever that happens, they're able to special out a Exo Sister Exceed monster, and they do have a really powerful Exceed monster that we're going to see here in a wee minute. I believe it's called Miklana. That allows basically to just freely banish cards, which is really strong. Here it is here. Yeah, that, you can read it, I'm not saying it. So it allows you to, this is a really powerful Exceed monster. It lets you to search for cards and allows you to get banishing as well. So we need to be careful how we use our DPE here. This is going to turn into a bit of a rough match very quickly if we're not careful. He uses Harpy's Feather Duster to try and get rid of our memories. We decide to activate it to chain. Then we're going to activate DPE to try and force it to use the Exceed monster because we don't want to get our Buster Blader banished. At this stage, but the DPE was going to be more of a hassle than it was a help in some situations. We didn't want to give him too much advantage off of it because once you activate its effect, you don't get the choice to not special summon. So we didn't want to risk it, basically. So we summoned in Buster Blader. It's big enough to get over this monster here. Lucky enough, it can't really do much on our turn. We do brick here with the Fusion Destiny. We could have, I believe, done the Celestial Draw, but I don't believe I did. For some reason, I just don't think I was, I think I forgot about it, basically. So we destroy his monster, we steal it and equip it onto our Buster Blader. He draws nothing, so that's fantastic. We rip into Pot of Prosperity here. So Pot of Prosperity is an excellent card. You would only ever banish 3 off of it though. Your extra deck is extremely valuable and extremely cramped. we rip a Prologue here. So we set Prologue and Fusion Destiny. Again, we could have done the Celestial, but I completely forgot. So we're misplaying a little bit here, but not that it's going to matter. We activate our Prologue, send the Dragon, send the Buster Blader, banish to Fuse, and the Buster Blader combo comes to life on their turn here. So we're going to banish those guys to summon out the Buster Blader, the Dragon Destroyer Swordsman, and then the Buster Dragon would be summoned, but our opponent has seen enough. So Exo Sisters are really, really cool. I'm definitely going to have a look at that deck. If it's not too expensive, I'm 100% going to build it, because that seems very, very strong. If they go Called by the Grave, they go Phoenix Enforcer, they go, well, even most decks nowadays really would move stuff out of the graveyard. So they seem really, really cool. I'm going to have a look at those at some point. If they're not too expensive, I'll 100% build it. But yeah, again, that was a bit of a knockdown drag out there, where it's a bit of a longer game. Initially, you know, us getting interrupted on our plays on our first turn, we weren't really able to get into the Prologue right away, but that's why the Tenyi engine is here. That's why Predaplant Verteconda is here. The thing about this deck, and I'll get more into it in the deck profile, if you do not see Prologue, forget about Buster Blader. It's not happening. There's no amount of extension that's going to make it like magically appear. It's simply not going to. So you need to be able to acknowledge whether or not it's going to be possible, and then make your plays accordingly. So we knew from our opening hand, okay, Buster Blader is a thing for later. We're going to set up hopefully to get into it for later, but for now, we're not going to kid ourselves. We're going to try and get into a decent field. I would have liked to have gone potentially into a little bit more than just the DPE, but we did get interrupted on the Hacky Fibrax, so you take what you can get basically. But yeah, 100% still a really, really good duel. We would have had our full Buster Lock there as well. We would have won the following turn, so it was all good in the end. So let's move into the deck profile, and I'll explain some of the choices we made whenever we were building this. Alright, so getting into the deck list, you would not believe how many slightly different versions of the deck I've been through to arrive at what we're looking at right now. The engine can be, the deck can be broken down into a few distinct engines. So first of all, we have the Tenyi engine. So you would play 9 or 10 Tenyi cards. Which one specifically doesn't matter, so long as there's 3 at Hara, that's the most important one. Everything else you can play at whatever number you want, so long as you have at least 9 or 10 of them. You want to be seeing at least 1, potentially 2 of them in your opening hand for hopefully every game. They just add so much to it. If you're able to put 2 monsters on board, again, DPE, that is huge. It allows you to go into Hacky Fibrax most of the time, so your Crystron Hacky Fibrax will allow you to grab your dragon, so you can put your dragon in graveyard. For the Prologue plays, it frees up so much in regards to the deck. It enables so much in terms of the combo potential. The Tenyi package for this version of it is definitely essential. I play 10. The level 4s, I play 1 of each of the level 4s. I tried completely cutting the level 7s to play only level 4s. I cut the Hishuna, run 3 Vishura. I've done all sorts of different stuff with the Tenyi engine. It doesn't make much of a difference. I like having at least 1 Ashuna just in case you need it, but honestly, it's Ashuna I would probably say is actually the weakest of the Tenyi in this particular version. You could even cut it to maybe run more of the smaller level ones. The only reason you would do that is because if you draw into 3 Ashuna or 3 Vishura, you can only summon 1 of them, because you can't special summon them more than once per turn, and they can't be normal summoned. So that means you've got at least 1 dead card in your hand. Whereas these guys, if you open up 2 of this one, 2 Mapura, that's fine. You can special summon 1 and normal summon the other, and then combo off of that. So I do think the level 4s do deserve a bit of a place, but it's ultimately up to you. The only one you need 3 of is Adhara for your Crystron. That's the only one you need 3 of. The rest of them, mix and match. I really like the shooter for the return. This is probably the best one in my opinion. But yeah, separating away from that then, this card here, the Prologue of the Destruction Sword, this is your Buster Blader engine. Everything Buster Blader in this deck revolves around this card. You have 12 copies of it. You have 3 copies of the card itself, 3 copies of Trap Trick, which searches it. You have 3 copies of the Buster Whelp, which will search it. And you have Pot of Prosperity, which can hopefully grab it from the top of the deck. So you run 12 cards to try and get this into your hand. If you don't see any of those 12 cards, forget about Buster Blader for that turn. Try to combo into your Verte Anaconda instead. Try to, if you can, go into Abramax. We'll get to that in a minute. But you need to, if you don't see one of those 12, forget about Buster Blader for that turn. It's simply not happening. Don't delude yourselves. But yeah, again, you see 12 of it. You will see it a lot. You run a lot of copies of it. So that's fine. That's where it breaks down. Prologue will basically send a Buster Blader and one of your other Destruction Sword cards to the graveyard, and it will allow you to summon out the Buster Dragon. So long as it's face up, all of your opponent's monsters become dragons. So what would you typically send? You would usually send Memories. Memories can banish itself and materials from the grave to fuse into Buster Blader the Dragon Destroyer Swordsman. So that's your fusion card basically. If you already have this in grave, you would potentially send this guy. So this one can be equipped from the graveyard to lock your opponent out of the extra deck. If you don't have a dragon in grave, you would send, well, you basically send whatever piece you don't have. That's what makes the Hacky Fibrax play I talked about so valuable, because the more of those pieces you already have in the graveyard, the more consistent the resolution of both of these cards is going to be, because your prologue can resolve whenever you want, but it's useless if you don't also resolve the memories. It doesn't do anything. Buster Dragon by itself just makes them all dragons. It only affects like 10% of decks. So you need to resolve both, and to resolve both, you're innately missing one piece. So the Hacky Fibrax combo helps get that piece more consistently. That's basically it. So yeah, everything else then at that stage, Fusion Destiny, because why not? DP is broken. Playing a few hand traps, nothing really special. 2 Maxi, 2 Veiler. You could probably fit 2 Ash as well. You could probably fit a third Ash in here. You might want to play Cult by the Grave if you want. You can cut Sage. Sage searches, again, it's the perspective of you grab your Whelp. Whelp is one of those things. If you can get it to the graveyard, fantastic. This is probably the weakest card in the deck. If you were going to cut something, cut that and do whatever you want. If you want to put in like more hand traps, maybe a third Ash, third Maxi, maybe put in Call by the Grave, something like that. That's up to you. I do somewhat like the Ash right now, but it's totally interchangeable. But yeah, other than that, everything is pretty sort of generic in terms of the extra deck. You've got your Buster Dragon for your combo, Buster Blader for your combo, DP for your combo, the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend. So the thing about Prologue is at the end of the following turn, the Buster Dragon you summon will be destroyed. So if you have the Buster Dragon and any of your level 1 tuners on the field, you can summon out the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend before it gets destroyed. So it's just a fallback plan. I don't go into this card very often, but it is nice to have. Linkuriboh for your 1-card combo with Whelp. Normal summon Whelp, search Prologue, go into Linkuriboh, 1-card combo. That doesn't give you the extra deck lock though, but it does turn Whelp into basically a 1-card Prologue. So that's perfect. Monk of the Tenyi for your Tenyi plays. Crystron Hacky Fibrax for obvious reasons. We talked about it in the gameplay. IP Masquerena, if you have the ability to extend further than your Crystron. So if you're able to put 3 monsters on board instead of just 2, then you can go into Masquerena as well as your Needle Fiber, and then you can turn these 2 into an Avramax, which is huge. Avramax, if you use IP Masquerena to summon it, cannot be destroyed by card effects, cannot be targeted by card effects, and whenever it battles a special summoned monster, it gains that monster's attack points. So it's just a huge boss monster, extremely difficult to remove for a lot of decks. They can't swing over it, they can't target it, they can't destroy it. Super annoying to get rid of. Unicorn to spin cards, Predator Plant for your DPE, Union Carrier to equip your Buster Destruction Sword from the deck if you need to. I've yet to summon this card in this deck, definitely not compulsory, but I would imagine it will help. You may even want to cut it for like a third Buster Dragon or something. Sometimes you need a third one. And the last card is the Protector Whelp. Again, it's just one of those things that the Tenyis help you extend into, that just adds consistency to your combo. You send Destruction Sword card from deck to graveyard, then you can special summon a Buster Blader from your hand. So if you want to send your extra deck lock, your dragon, your memories to the graveyard, if you're missing a combo piece, this fills in that combo piece. So if you have Prologue in your hand, don't be afraid to summon out the Protector Whelp if you need to. Very powerful play. We didn't see it in any of the gameplay there because we tend to open up quite well. But yeah, that's the full deck broken down. Very, very straightforward. I know I was talking an awful lot there, but basically you've got your Buster engine. If you see one of your 12 prologues, fantastic. You've your 10 card Tenyi engine. You basically use it to extend into DP or an Avramax. Everything else is hand traps, disruption, and fallbacks. That's pretty much the deck. But yeah, it is massively powerful. I really, really love this deck. If you like it too, if you want to see any other content like this in the future on the channel, there is a subscribe button. It's completely free. Why not? You'd be doing me a wee favor. And we do post this sort of content on the regular. So yeah, that's all I have to say on the deck. I will probably in the future bring another version of it. We may want to test something that isn't Tenyi. I really love the Tenyi version, but maybe let's try and mix it up for next time. We'll see what else I can think up. But for now, that's going to be me signing off then. You enjoy the rest of your day.